Thanks for staying with us on SABC News. Now, South Africa observed Women's Month in August to remember women who fought against oppressive apartheid laws and strides made since then. This month, the African Women Chartered Accountants Forum has announced businesswoman Irene Charnley as the 2023 Woman of Substance Recipient. She joins me now. Thanks so much for your time on SABC News. Let's start with, how would you characterize the state of women in South Africa socially and business-wise 29 years into democracy?
Our women today, just women in general, I think the women of today are the women who are needed to change our society in a positive way. We've come a very, very long way with a woman who inspired us, women we've learned from, women who stood tall before us. These are the women we are now following, and we have to ensure that the young women, are walking next to us. We are uplifting them, because these are the women who are going to bring about change in our country. We need our young female leaders today, because they are the ones who are, all of them are worthy of becoming leaders themselves, but we need them to bring about change, whether it is in politics or in the business arena. We need our young female leaders. And that is why we, women of yesterday, women of today, have to ensure we walk next to the young female leaders, and so that they can achieve on their own journey to greatness. As
someone who's gone from being in the union space into corporate in South Africa and beyond, what would you say are some of the systemic and other issues that still see things like gender pay gaps and only 25% of women as CEOs or execs in JSE-listed companies?
Yeah, we've still got a long way to go. We must admit, Nzinga, we've come a long way. But a lot of work still needs to be done. Remember, I mean, can you imagine? Currently, only about less than 10% of CEOs in our country are women. You still have, as you've said, less than 25% of women who occupy senior and executive positions. But what is important is we all know what the problems are. But what is key is that we need to ensure that we bring about change. How are we going to bring about those changes? And what we've done, for example, both AWCA as well as International Women's Forum South Africa, we formed groups together with other women's organizations, and we've developed a catalytic strategy where we are pushing to have changes brought about into current legislation that will ensure that we recognize and call for clear targets for women in certain positions, whether it's on boards, whether it's an executive or senior management position, whether it is in terms of procurement, etc. We are saying those legislations have to be there so that women, it actually should be legislated that women have to occupy those positions, and especially in the economy as well. Procurement should, at all procurement, whether it's in the private sector or the public sector, at least 50% of that should be allocated to women-owned businesses. We are far from that. Government has set targets, but we are way below that. Private sector haven't even set targets. So the woman, it doesn't matter which organizations you are, whether you are individual or you're in an organization, we have to get together and ensure those targets we set have to be met.
Okay.
It's long. We remember for 1956, women went to Pretoria. They stood there, the strong women. Those are the tall women that they stood tall before us. We are now how many years later? And that is why we're relying now on the young female leaders to bring about those changes in our society.
What would you say then is the opportunity for women in particular to capitalize on the current electricity, infrastructure and other challenges in South Africa, and make sure that the opportunities that you spoke about being created are taken up by women?
Firstly, We as International Women's Forum, I don't know if you're aware of that, and Zingas, about a few months ago, we had an energy consortium, and we called all women organizations to come up with solutions to our energy crisis. But what we are saying is that if you take Eskom or all related companies, what percentage of their businesses actually go to women-owned entities or small and medium enterprises? Government currently have a policy that 40% of all procurement within state-owned entity, and Eskom is a state-owned entity, they have a requirement that 40% should go to women-owned businesses, but it's not. So there has to be a mechanism to monitor and ensure those percentages are reached. And how do we do that? We have to ensure that the voice of women are heard. If things are not happening, if those percentages are not met, we have to ensure that we make it known publicly. Do we demonstrate? But we have to put pressure on these companies to do this. So it is our duty to do that. Right. Your duty. You are on SABC. You are you have the image. You know, let our voices be heard through you, through different organizations like AWCA, IWFSA, you know, SAWIF. Many of these organizations that are there, irrespective of where you are, let the voices of women be heard. If things don't happen, let us voice our dissatisfaction. Let us also voice our opinion, because we are the ones who bring about change.
Irene Charnley, businesswoman, entrepreneur, really appreciate your time on SABC News this afternoon, just talking about the journey of women in South Africa. Thank you.